What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the Brand Nerd Podcast. Today, we have a very exciting episode. We are going to be speaking with Rajesh Jyotishi. He is an Indian American businessman in Atlanta, Georgia, and he specializes in health insurance and financial planning, specifically in the Indian American community there in Atlanta. But he also just has a ton of wisdom to share with us as a business owner, as a financial planner, as an insurance broker. So we're going to talk to him about all those things, as well as his journey to becoming a business. And stick around for the end. I'm not just saying that. At the end, he gives like this awesome speech encouraging business owners to take a personal approach to their business, and I wouldn't want you to miss that. So this episode, it's all about riches in the niches. So let's talk to RJ. Welcome to the Brand Nerd Podcast. I'm Mitch Metter. Join me as we nerd out over great brands, study the latest business tech, and learn proven strategies from experts and entrepreneurs. Let's get started. Hey, RJ, how you doing?
Hey, Mitch. Nice to see you again.
Yep, it's great to see you, man. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. I'm super excited to introduce you to the Brand Nerd audience and talk about your journey as an entrepreneur, your expertise as a guide in the insurance space and the financial space. So you've got a couple different things that we can touch on in that regard. But why don't you just give us the, 10,000 foot view, zoom out a little bit. What do you do?
That's a good question. I ask myself all the time that too.
Of course.
No, but I came to the U.S. in the early 70s. Yeah, we moved to Atlanta in like 74. So I've been here almost for 50 years, most of my life. And I got into the financial services in like 1992. Prior to that, I used to work for another company where I was their production manager, where they published a construction report for the construction industry. So when I got in the insurance business, one of the challenges I had was, how do you get customers? Who should you go after? Because, the way the insurance industry is set up is that when you first join, they want you to make a list of everyone you know and go call on them. And after you've done that, now what? Now who are you going to call on? That's why the success rate in the insurance business is usually less than 3%, because most people, after they get done with their family and friends, they don't have anyone to talk to and they end up leaving. So at that time, what we did was, since I had printing and mailing experience, me and a couple of my friends decided to start something for the Indian community here in Georgia called Khabar, Khabar, which initially started out like a Valpak coupon, where we would just mail out to a very, very specific audience, like coupons and things like that. And over the years, we, advanced it to a newsletter and a newsprint magazine, and all the way up to a full color, glossy magazine. The magazine has been now around for over 30 years, but I sold it 10 years ago to my ex-business partner. So I am no longer involved in the management of it, but I still host the MoneyWise section, and I still continue to advertise in that. So what I learned from that is that, there are benefits of identifying who you want to work with. When we're talking about like 1992, where internet was not even very, not a whole lot of people even knew how to use it, nor was it an easy task to target people on that as well. So a print publication where people see you on a month-to-month basis was a great way to reach people on an ongoing basis. And over the years, I must say it has really worked out well for us because, it's, I like the way Dan Sullivan, strategic coach, says, who do you want to be a hero to? Like, who do you want to serve?
Right. Of course.
And in my case, it was my natural market or natural community that I needed to work with because it's easier to get accepted there. With a name like Rajesh Jyotishi, even though I would love to work with everyone in our, that is over here, not everybody wants to work with the Rajesh Jyotishi. So it just made it a little bit easier to work with the Indian community, which recognizes the names and whatnot.
Huh. That's an interesting way. That's an interesting way to look at it. I like, I like that you First of all, it's awesome that you overcame that initial hurdle, which is, you know, all right, I've tapped out my phone book, my contact book, and now how do I reach more people? Were there any other ideas that got cut from the the drawing room floor when you were trying to figure out how do we get to those next customers?
Well, over the years, we've tried all kinds of things, whether it be, seminars and direct
Mm-hmm.
mail and whatnot. And over the years, we're also modified it now. In today's time, the three things that I rely on the most are our website. Thanks to you
Mm-hmm.
guys, we have a great one.
Yeah.
Number two is emails. And number three are some social media type of things. I have a YouTube channel that
Mm-hmm.
we record some videos and educational materials so that I can send it out to my clients as I'm speaking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when I wrote my book, that's behind me, The Money Talk, which is also very, very specifically written for the Asian Indian community. The publisher said something which was really, really fascinating to me. And he looked at me while he said it, RJ, you know that the riches are in the niches. I said, interesting, okay. But when I think
Yeah.
about it, it really has worked out well for me because it's like identifying the niches that you really want to be involved in and they're trying to figure out the best way to serve them and provide the value. What he also said was that, there are three types of medias. There's earned, owned, and rented.
Mm.
Earned is basically when you write an article or somebody writes an article about you, like in a newspaper or I mean, even this podcast could be considered earned because you know me. So you say, hey, let me have RJ come on here.
Sure.
Rented is all the different things that we use, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, well, Instagram, all of them. But we've seen what happens to those over the years too. The algorithms change and you can be wiped out overnight. Your entire, clientele doesn't see you anymore. I mean, heck,
Of
even
course.
the ex-president of the United States got kicked off. So even you
That's
can even
true.
lose your account, if you did something that displeases them. But the owned media, which is your website, your email addresses, I think are the best things to reach people. The
Mm-hmm.
website being like your home base where you can take them to, where they can get as much education and content that they want. And your emails, I consider my emails like my remote control advertising or remote control marketing. So I use it when I need to use it. Sometimes I do it on a consistent basis, but other times I would just do it when I need to do it because our business tends to be seasonal. So during the high seasons, I really cannot have too many people be calling on me. So I pick and choose when want to send it out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've been behind the scenes of your website, of course, but also your email list. And I know that you've got a substantial number of subscribers, a substantial number of people that see you as a guide um, for financial and insurance measures. And I imagine that, just in knowing you, somebody who is Indian American and, maybe they immigrated after you, maybe they're a little bit more in the cultural bubble. We tend to hang out with people that are similar to us, and that's just a very human thing, is like attracts like. So you being this example of someone who has bridged the cultural divide so well, so naturally, I would imagine there's a lot of people in that community that look up to you and turn to you for those services. And I would venture to guess that you've also got people from outside of that community that are attracted too, because just because you have your niche doesn't mean that you are exclusive to that niche. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now we're getting a lot more mainstream clients from all communities, and it's really nice. I personally enjoyed, working and talking with everyone. I don't really want to work with just one group of people. We
Yeah,
also work with the haves as well as the have-nots. So, that
sure.
is a different conversation than just being able to serve them in whatever, suits. for them, because you can't assume that everyone is, wealthy or well-to-do. Sometimes some people are struggling. We have to figure
Yeah,
out how to help them as well too.
that's exactly
So,
right.
but there have been some, over the years I made some mistakes too, and like the name of my company was Shaolin Financial, which I named after my
Yep.
older son, and it caused a lot of confusion in names in the eyes of the people. They're like, "Who's Shaolin? Am I Shaolin? No, no, I'm not Shaolin." So financial services, what do you do? That's such a broad, you know,
Sure.
term. And over the years, I also started out wanting to do everything, like a lot of people want to do. And then you realize over the years that, hey, it helps to fine tune what you're really, really good at and focus on that. So
Yeah.
about 8 years ago, we changed our brand to Insurance Wallah, which is basically a provider of insurance in Indian dialects. But even that is too broad, as far as I'm concerned, because now people call us for auto or home insurance or business insurance, and our focus is life, health, and long-term care. Those are the only type of insurance that we focus on. And out of that, 90% of what we do is in health insurance space, whether it be for individuals needing Obamacare or Medicare, those type of things. So
Yeah.
now we're rebranding our company, which with you guys, it's going to be MedRates, where we're really, really trying to focus down on what we're trying to offer and whom we're trying to be a hero to. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that, the next phase of our marketing development.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, that's one of the reasons I've really enjoyed working with you over the years. Is just you are a visionary. You always have a couple things going. If you were a chef, you'd have two or three dishes going at the same time. You're not satisfied with one thing. But I also know that you're not an unreasonable person. You're not afraid to take some time away for yourself and with your family, and you also have some creative pursuits, which is something we have in common. So
That's
you
right.
know yeah, so I think that's really neat. So tell me a little bit, what are the types of people that you really feel like are your people, in terms of, you mentioned, hey, we can serve the haves and the have nots. What is the really like ideal character or avatar that you are serving?
At this point, when it comes to health insurance, we focus on people that are in Georgia and some surrounding areas who need
Hmm.
help on an annual basis to pick an individual health plan or Medicare plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a complicated space and it requires a little bit of, financial planning type of background so that people can understand what it takes to qualify for Obamacare, how to, and how to get those tax credits and reduce their rates. And since I had that experience over the last 30 years, it sort of became easy for me to just, catch it pretty quickly. And then it was just a
Yeah.
matter of learning how to navigate their website and their rules and make sure that we're following by those type of things. And it really has worked in our favor just because we were able to take care of so many people. And once you take care of people on a ongoing basis and do a good job with it, they want to stay with you, and then they want to refer their family and their friends to you as well too. So
Hmm.
so that is the number one clientele we still want to serve. Now, the other area which I know that is going to be in demand is in the terms of long-term care planning. The reason for it is most people do not do any form of long-term care planning, and especially in our community, because in India, when the parents grow up, they go live with their children, and the children take care of the parents, which is really the
Right.
best type of long-term care planning there is. But unfortunately, we live in America, and we don't know whom our kids are going to marry, what their cultural values are going to be, and even if they want to, sometimes they may not be able to afford it. Some of them, sometimes the
Yeah.
kids are traveling, like my older son is traveling all the time. So it's important for everyone to realize the need for long-term care planning, because right now it costs around anywhere from sixty to $100,000 per year. And when
Wow.
I say long-term care planning, I mean like like home health care, assisted living, nursing home. Some people just assume that it's covered by Medicare, but it is not. It is only a very small percentage is covered by Medicare. And we're already starting to see people that are needing this type of care and they're worried. It's like, what do I do? So last year, I even got certified to be a certified Medicaid planner, not because I really
Okay.
want to do Medicaid planning, but I just want to know the rules. If I had to guide somebody, how would I do it? You know, so those are the two main areas that we're focused on, that, health insurance and possible long-term care planning.
What are some of the things in the space of long term care planning that people should be thinking about years before they get into that situation?
Well, I mean, one thing is you got to know the cost.
Yeah.
That's going to be expensive. So even if you're not going to buy any insurance or anything like that, you just need to figure out what are you going to do if the time comes. Now, Medicaid takes care of most people for long-term care planning, but in order to qualify for Medicaid, you have to spend down your savings and your assets, and you have to be kind of impoverished to a certain degree before you can
Hmm.
qualify for Medicaid in most states. And Medicaid rules do vary from state to state as well too. Now, the challenge is this: if it's a couple, a husband and a wife, it's usually the husband, the man that goes into the assisted living or nursing home first. And when that happens, the couple has to spend down all their savings in order to try to qualify him for Medicaid. Now the wife is left with very little to go on for the rest of her life. So a lot of the planning revolves around just having the conversation. What are some of my options? On our website, I created a video like 5 ways to pay for long-term care, which are pretty simple, which is cash. If you have enough money, you can pay for it. And there are plenty of very well-to-do people that have the money, so they don't really need to necessarily buy any long-term care insurance. And then you got traditional long-term care insurance. Nowadays, there are life insurance policies with long-term care riders. There are what is known as asset-based long-term care, where you put a lump sum money into a policy and it can cover a husband and wife together and provide long-term care benefits for a lifetime. And then the fifth is Medicaid. So, I mean, those are your
Okay.
five most common ways that people take care of it. And the other is just, you know, living with your children or other family members who can be there for you and take care of you in your older age. You know, but everything
Yeah.
has a some type of price to it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I think, one of the things when I was a young man, I never really thought about those types of things at all, of course, but now I'm in my, mid to upper 30s, we'll say. And, with kids and a wife, and these are the types of things that start to enter your mind naturally. And I find it to be both concerning, but also motivational. You have to, as an entrepreneur, it motivates me to go out and shake the trees and figure out what other kind of opportunities I can make for my business. And um, as a as a dad, it makes me go, how do I protect the future for my children if I'm there or if I'm not there. um, you mentioned that you actually named your company initially after your son. So obviously that tells me that family is important to you. But um,
Oh
you
yeah.
know what motivated you to name it after him, and what changed over time?
Well, our main company is still called Shaolin Financial. That's
Okay.
I mean, even if we have different brands that we do business as, but Shaolin Financial is the main corporation that we still operate under. So in India, there are many people that do name their businesses after their children or, oldest child or something like that. And I
Okay.
just like the name Shaolin. It
Yeah,
just,
it's a great name.
so that was really the simplest reason, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Did
Maybe I
you
should
have
have put a little bit
any
more thought into it.
well, did you have any aspirations of him going into the family business?
Oh no, none of my kids have any aspiration in our business at all, Mitch. And we
Okay,
really
fair
want them
enough.
to focus their passions anyway. So it's just like, you know,
Yeah,
if they
I
ever
hear
show
you.
an interest, they're more than welcome. But if they're not interested, we completely understand.
Yeah, yeah. So, one of the things that we talked about in leading up to this episode is just that phrase that you said earlier: riches are in the niches. Are there any other businesses that you kind of place as a um, inspiration for your approach to business?
Well, I mean, we see it all around us, right? I mean, whether it be realtors working in certain areas or
Hmm.
communities, mortgage brokers also. I think nowadays it makes it much more easier to target specific audiences too, whether it be on
Okay.
Facebook or as well as on uh, Google AdWords or whatnot. You can really specify, whom you're trying to target. What I find is that the people that really specialize in a specific thing. I mean, even in the
Hmm.
medical profession, you're seeing more people wanting to be a specialist of a sort rather than a generalist. Whether it be a primary
Yeah.
care doctor type thing, because the rewards are maybe higher for them, and it also allows them to focus on one thing and really try to get good at it. And
Yeah.
I think that becomes like the bottom thing for me. And like, how do I provide value? If
Yeah.
I'm providing value, then other people are going to obviously see it. It's like I think Oprah once said, it's like, be so good they can't ignore you. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
I really like that. So we work
Yeah.
very hard to get educated and have all the right tools and things to take care of our clients, systems, processes, all those type of
Hmm.
things.
What are some of the things that you notice are different about the Indian American community there in Atlanta, Georgia, and versus somebody else who maybe is uh, a more typical Americanized person who might walk into your office? What are the main differences you see in their approach to maybe insurance? Maybe it's to money, or maybe it's even to life.
Well, most Indian communities are very frugal,
Okay.
in terms of the way they spend money. They usually live way beneath their means. So I mean, even during like the 2008 crashes, when a lot of businesses were going out of, they were in debt and they were out of business. Even a lot of the
Yep.
hoteliers that were Indian owned, very few of them actually went under because of the fact that they really did not over leverage themselves in that area. But the
Mm.
thing that I think happens within the Indian communities, they're also very ethnocentric. They like to work within their community, mainly because the language is an issue. You just
Yeah.
feel sometimes a little bit more comfortable, and it's easy to check up on somebody by asking your friends, "Hey, have you heard of Rajesh? Is he okay? Should I
Sure.
trust him?" And if you've been in the community for a while, you'll have some type of reputation, or somebody is going to know you. So I think that becomes a little bit more easier for people to do a little bit of background, you know, research on you. Obviously, we have our Google reviews and whatnot, but nothing like a word of mouth, type of, referrals.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of I'm here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and our claim to fame is the Amish. We have a large population of Amish, and the Amish are part of a broader community uh, of Mennonites. And I mean, I guess if you asked an Amish person, they would say, Mennonites broke off and became the more worldly version of the Amish, if you will. And, Mennonites kind of look at it the opposite. But I grew up in the Mennonite church. I grew up at what was not, probably not a lot different nowadays than almost any other church you would go to. But also, Mennonites are known for being very frugal, for, high morals and very frugal with their money. So we have a lot of Mennonite run businesses in this area. And yeah, the Mennonite business owners are extremely frugal, and also prefer to do business amongst themselves. Although I will say, probably not the same, at least from a business standpoint. There's some competition there too. There's definitely there, it's not all buddy buddy. Is there competition in the Indian American community, in that ethnocentric community?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
That's in every community too. But
gotcha.
we've been fortunate, that a lot of my fellow Asians, we rarely ever step on each other's,
That's great.
toes because we all have our own niche communities as well too. Because
Yeah,
see, India is also a very diverse community. I
of
mean, there's so
course.
many different languages
It's the
and
most populated
subsets
country
and
in the
whatnot.
world. How could it not be?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, there's going to be competition everywhere. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah. Do you?
so far it hasn't really affected us a whole lot.
That has not affected you.
No.
Where do you feel the most competitive pressure from?
I think I feel the most competitive pressure just from myself in terms of just trying to stay on top of all that is happening because we're in a crazy state of economy right now, where
Yeah.
all the things that we've been doing can be wiped out with a one legislation or one new law, or the next
Yep.
president or anything. So you just kind of have to keep your um, radar up to making sure that you're looking at all the possible answers, for your clients, because I take it as a personal responsibility that I'm taking on their responsibility to make sure that I'm doing the right things with it. So I feel like I get the most pressure from myself, Mitch.
That's Hey, that's a really healthy way to look at it, for sure. For sure. Um,
And we also know that, hey, whenever something changes, we're here to help them navigate the sales, and we'll see what needs to be done. We'll figure out something else.
that's fantastic. So, looking ahead 10 years, what's
Hmm.
what's your vision for Shallon Financial for med rates 10 years from now?
Hmm. Well, for med rates, I think I mentioned this to you before. I really would like to create an online directory where healthcare providers can list their non-insurance pricing for it, meaning their
Hmm.
fee-for-service rates. Because right now, if you don't have insurance, or if you have like a high deductible and you want to go get an MRI done, it's hard to
Yeah.
find pricing of all that type of things. I remember a few years ago when I sprained my ankle, and I had to go for physical therapy. And when I went in, they said, I had a high deductible of 5,000. They said, if you want us to bill your insurance company, it's $175 per visit. But if you want to pay fee for service, just pay as you go, it's $75 per visit. So for me, it was a no-brainer because I
Sure.
wasn't really planning on going that much to meet the deductible anyway. So in the same context, there's so many different things that can be done with med rates, whether it be medical tourism, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need to go get some medical procedures overseas and maybe get a vacation in the process. Home health care workers, long-term care needs. I mean, if he can build a website where uh, healthcare providers can put their non-insurance pricing, I think it would help them build their fee-for-service practice, because one of the biggest challenges doctors and hospitals have is to collect from people and collect from insurance companies. And this
Yep.
alleviates some of their problems over there. And the other issues that consumers have is that, how do I find the pricing? Where else can I go to get this information without having to call, 10 different places? So that
Yeah.
is something that I plan on working on over the next few years, and let's see how it goes. I'm sure
Do
you'll
you
be a
feel
part.
like do you feel like that's something that's going to get better or get worse?
Well, we know that healthcare in America is not going to get cheaper anytime soon. It's just the way it is. So,
Yeah.
and anytime we can provide a little bit more, transparency, I think it helps. You know, because there are a lot of even other alternative care providers, whether it be acupuncturists, chiropractors. I mean,
Yep.
uh, they all can benefit from having a listing on the website like this as well too. Even if the insurance laws change, I think the cost of healthcare is still going to be on the high side, or at least for
Yeah.
some time. I can't imagine it being not being on the high side.
Yeah.
And
We
that's one of the big
recently
challenges right now.
recently I had to take my son to the emergency room, and honestly, it probably wasn't a emergency room visit worthy event, but it was in the middle of the night. He was having some issues, and it had been a couple weeks, and it got really bad in the middle of one of the nights, and so the emergency room was the only option, and our bill was astronomical. And we have a high deductible plan, so I'm pretty much paying for everything. And then on top of that, the you have all these other bills coming from related specialists that were involved very minorly. He was there for a couple of hours and it was thousands of dollars. It blows my mind that that is an acceptable way to do business. Granted, I know it's not business, but I mean, yeah, I was just like trying to figure out the hourly rate that, that they were sending me for the triage, and it was just it blew my mind. I'm sure this is something
Oh
you're
yeah.
very familiar with, but for me, it was stunning.
They say the number one cause of bankruptcies in this country is healthcare bills.
Wow.
People just totally blindsided by healthcare expenses and not knowing how to pay it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, unfortunately, we're in a position where that's not going to bankrupt us. However, it did make me retroactively consider whether or not that was a good decision. I don't think I could have made a different decision with the information that I had at the time, but it was very frustrating. And then here's the kicker: they didn't even get the diagnosis right. We took them to the
Wow.
pediatrician 2 days later. And they actually figured it out. So it was,
We've all been there,
yeah,
Mitch. We've all been
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's those are the breaks sometimes. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you joining me today, but I want to give you just an opportunity if there's anything else you wanted to share with your fellow business owners out there. Um, yeah, just wanted to give you one more chance to say something.
Well, one thing I would say is that, over the years, I've tried just about everything as far as marketing is concerned. And I would say
Yeah.
everything works, to a certain degree.
Yep.
I've done seminars, I've done webinars, the magazine, I host a column, I've written books, I've done a podcast for a while too, as well as the YouTube videos and everything. So everything does work. So, I mean, it pays to try out different things because you have no idea which is going to really, really resonate with your customers. We live in a world right now where people want communication in so many different ways. Some want it by text, some by email, some want actual phone calls, direct mail. So you have to be able to communicate with them the way they would like to be communicated to. And
That's
and
true.
do it in a personal sort of way. I think being personal has been one of my strengths because I find people tell me that when they talk to me, they feel comfortable. I
Mm,
remember watching one of your short videos just this morning. Say, the three things that you have to be able to do in order to uh,
mm,
convert to sales. You got to get people to know you, like you, and trust you. You know,
correct.
so whatever you can do to make your communications more personal. Like when I send out an email or something, I always start out with, "Hey everybody, hope you had a great weekend. You know, it was a beautiful day in Atlanta, wasn't it? We did this." Just
Mm,
a one line over, of something personal that allows them to connect with you, and then go into your message that you really want to convey. And what I found over the years is that those little personal messages are the ones that they remember the most. So I saw your email. You guys went on a vacation here. That is so
yep.
really nice that you're sharing that with us. So anytime that you can be a little bit more personal and less, company oriented, I think it helps. Just the same thing with our website. Our main picture on there is just a picture of me and my wife. The clear messaging saying we help you find affordable life and health insurance and invest your money a little more safely. Very,
Yeah.
very simple and to the point. So that
Yeah.
would be the main thing. It's like, see if you can have a good website, build a good communication list, an email list that you can reach out to people, be a little bit more personal, and try different things. It's also fun to try different things.
Man, I appreciate that so much. And I know from working with you that you embody that personalized touch to the T. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that that is your advice. And I think it's great advice. And I'm glad it's at the end, because then people have to listen to the end to get to that golden nugget. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you, Mitch. It was a pleasure. Be happy to do it again anytime.
Awesome. If you enjoyed this Brand Nerd podcast, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Rajesh Jyotishi is a registered representative of Dempsey Lord Smith, LLC, member of FINRA, SIPC, advisory services offered through Dempsey Lord Smith, LLC.